Hey, this is Phil Lilly at Lily's Landing Resort and Marina on Lake Taneycomo. Thought I'd come out here and do a fishing report real quick. I'm just up from our dock on the lake. They're not running any water. Today is Friday, April 24th. And I came out here and started throwing jigs, 1/8 ounce jigs, and there's a little chop on the water and there's no sun. It's pretty cloudy. And I found out real quick that the fish were close to the surface, even though they weren't midging much. I just by throwing that jig around and working at different levels, I found out that they were up close to the surface. So I got my 7-foot spinning rod out, put on a jig and a float. I've got a ginger micro jig on, carrot float, and I'm fishing about 4 feet deep, 2-pound line. Trying to stay in this little choppy area right here. There's no chop down lake of me about 100 yards at all. It's slick surface, kind of how the wind's blowing through here, blowing from the west. And I picked up a few rainbows. But that's really what the mindset that you have when you come out on the lake is you got to find out what the fish are doing, where they're at, what they're in the mood for, if anything, and then adjust what you fish with. And in this case, if they're up closer to the surface, you can throw spoons, spinners, small crankbaits and keep those lures close to the surface. Or what we like to do a lot of times is to use a float and float something at that level, 3 or 4 foot under the surface, 5 feet, where those fish are holding, and present them with something that they like to eat. Usually it's a small jig or fly, or in some cases you can put bar bait on a hook, jig hook, whatever you want to do. I try to pick up and move every 30 seconds or so, 40 seconds. I don't like to leave the jig in the same area more than that amount of time, because I figured that any fish in the vicinity that's has seen it has refused it, swam off. And it's time to pick up and throw another spot. As far as jigs, I would, 1/100 ounce down to, or up to 1/32 ounce. And they've been hitting anything with an orange head, like a brown or sculpin or combination. It's been really good. Or without an orange head, just a brown head. The ginger with a brown head is what I've got on. And they're hitting it pretty good. That was just a real light hit. You just kind of tip the float a little bit. Of course, it's a pretty small fish. As far as generation patterns, what they have been is very sporadic. They're just running water different almost every day, either running water all day, 1-2 units, or running it in the morning and evenings, and leaving it off during the day, which is what they're doing today. What they're going to do in the next few days, it's hard to say. I would think they'd run it in the morning and evening and leave it off during the day. But who knows? But it gives everybody a good look at different kinds of generation if you like to fish it with the water on or water off. It's actually good for everybody. There's still a lot of fish up in the creeks. We've had, when the water's running real hard, and a lot of our guests are going down to Rourke Creek and fishing up in Rourke Creek, way up by the bridges, and then back out towards the mouth. And they're fishing pirebait, or they're fishing jigs under a float. Doing real well. I've got several trout chasing my lure there. Okay, what I've done, so I shorten up the distance between my float and the first jig. And then below the jig, about 10 inches, I've got a zebra midge, black zebra midge. And I'm gonna fish this not too far underneath the water, because those fish are not that far under the surface, and they're coming up and feeding on midges. The thing is, I like to target them just like that. One came up just right up here. If I see one come up, that's why it's a little bit better throwing a fly rod, because I could have got there a lot quicker throwing a fly rod. Right where that fish is midging, I want to throw that fly in there. Because I know he's looking for a midge, and that's what I got on my line. Okay, now that they've quit coming up, I'll move it back down. And still have the midge there below my jig. I've been catching a lot of fish on night crawlers this week, either drifting them or fishing stationary, blowing them up, floating them off the bottom. I've had some, tell you, even the fish that they're stocking right now, the rainbows, are just, they're nice rainbows. A lot of 13, 14, 15-inch rainbows. A lot of fun to catch. I'm sure they won't stock those all summer, but it's nice when they do. Oh, I missed him. I got the float a little bit too far away from me, I think. Kind of hard to set the hook that quick when the float's that far out. Either that or I'm getting slow. Now with the zebra midge, you don't really have to work it like you would a jig. But I go ahead and work it since I got a jig and a zebra midge on. Saw one midge just right out there. One midge behind me. There he is. And he took the midge. I think when they take that midge, it's a little bit more subtle. Got some fly fishermen out today. This water being off and a little chop on the water, fishing a midge with a fly rod either fishing a soft tackle or fishing a zebra midge under a float. Ooh, there's a real nice one. Came up just over there by my float. 6X tippet's still fine. The water's still got quite a bit of color to it. Fishing scuds. Scuds on the bottom. I still like using bigger scuds, 10s and 12s, even when the water's off. Gray and olive and tan. And just scoot them across the bottom. When that water's running, they're using an egg fly and a San Juan and a scud. Any combination of the two. And using them on a drift rig and drifting them down the bottom, down the middle on the bottom from Lookout to Fall Creek, and doing real well, catching a lot of good fish. He was close enough you might have seen the float go under. And he took the midge again. I'm using 2-pound Vanish. I've got 3-pound on my rod, on my reel, but then I got 2-pound Vanish tippet. That's a nice little rainbow for up here. We're getting more and more people that come here and are wanting to learn how to jig fish, either throwing a jig or using a jig and float or a fly and float, float and fly. And that's really a neat thing to me, because I know this right here. I mean, I've even under not the greatest conditions, not a whole lot of chop, but they're biting good. These are nice fish, and you just catch more fish doing this than bait fishing. I guarantee you, if you hire a guide here and he takes you out, it's his job to put you on the most fish possible. And very few of them, not in the nice rainbow, very few of them will go out and throw power bait, if any. It does depend on the skill of the angler that they're taking out. I understand that. But as far as just catching fish, using something under a float, either a fly or a jig or any number of different lures, it just catches more fish. See what I mean? All of these are coming on the zebra midge, not on the jig. I think the zebra midge is going to be the fly they're going to eat, because that's what they're seeing. The jig, if nothing else, will get their attention. So a lot of guys who use that miracle fly, which is an egg fly under an egg fly on a small jig head. It's an attractor fly. That's four fish and 4 casts. Oh, and that's a nice, pretty rainbow. On the zebra midge. Beautiful rainbow. Oh, I looked away and my float was under. Kind of ruined my streak there. I'm just thinking about the just thinking about the smoked chicken I can smell. It's on my green egg up there at my house. On the midge. Ouch, 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 ouch. Well, I hope this report has helped. If nothing else, maybe encourage some to try this jig and float, or fishing something under a float when you come. You know, we have these spinning rods are for rent, $10 a day, down on our dock, and you know, we can rig them up and put the 2-pound line on them and show you how to do it, and you can sure take them out and give them a spin. But you don't need to have special equipment to do this. Just need a little patience and a little luck, I guess. Almost on cue. Well, it was on cue, but I didn't hook him. One more time.